in 2007, there was a resolution to condemn the Iranian president for some statements he made on wiping out Israel and saying that the Holocaust didn't occur, and it passed 411 to 2. The two were Dennis Kucinich and Ron Paul, and you voted present. Could you explain why you opposed the resolution condemning his comments and calling for, go ahead.
I'm going to double check after this just to make sure this is the same resolution I'm thinking of. But it relates again to Bush. I'm not going to read it right in front of you, but because I want to answer your question and get to others. But I will double check afterwards and make sure this is accurate. So in the lead up to the war in Iraq, George W. Bush at one point indicated that he really didn't even need to seek confirmation or seek congressional approval, because he said regime change has already been approved in a resolution such as the resolution, it was a resolution condemning Saddam Hussein, and very similar to the one that you talk about that is condemning Ahmadinejad for things he had said. And so I believe the one relating to Iraq was one that I voted yes on early on, never dreaming that a president, sitting president, later would come back and point to that resolution expressing the sense of Congress as basis for going to war. But that was a very disturbing record, and I have to say I was a harsh critic of George W. Bush's foreign policy and war policy, and my voting record is very clear on that. So when this came up at the same time that we had a president who was saber-rattling about yet another conflict, it was of great concern to me that that he could at some point in the future, as he did in Iraq, point back at that and say, this is Congress supporting regime change, let's use military means to do that.
Why did you vote present instead of no?
Probably because of how shocking, I absolutely condemn Ahmadinejad for what he has said, for what he intends. And these are very difficult votes, but these are the votes we're sometimes confronted with, where you have a sentiment that you entirely agree with. This is a sense of Congress. But then you had a president who, in an instant in the past, used it as a basis for going to war. You have to be very careful, and that's a tough decision. It's hard to explain, as we've already spent several minutes getting into this. But that was my experience, is we had a president who thought he didn't have to go to Congress because of a non-binding resolution against one brutal dictator. We didn't want to see that happen again with George W. Bush.